Let me ask you a question that might be a little painful. What is the very first thing you do when you open your eyes in the morning? I'm not talking about the ideal version of you. I'm talking about the real version. Do you stretch and smile at the sun? Or do you reach for that glowing rectangle on your nightstand and lose yourself in a stream of notifications?
That is a painful question because I think most of us are guilty of the second one. It's almost automatic, isn't it? The alarm goes off, the hand moves, and suddenly, before your brain is even fully awake, you're scrolling through other people's lives, checking emails or reading bad news. And just like that, the first 15 minutes of your day are gone.
Exactly. It's the famous just 1 minute trap. You think you're just checking the time and suddenly 10 minutes have vanished into the digital void. But here is the thing, and this is why we are here today. What if that time wasn't lost? What if those groggy, quiet moments in the morning were actually the secret weapon for mastering English?
It sounds like a tall order, doesn't it? Especially when most people feel like they can barely make coffee, let alone conjugate verbs before 8 a.m. But we aren't talking about intense study sessions here. We are looking at a concept called blanket English, the idea that you can start learning before you even get out of bed.
I love that term, blanket English. It implies comfort. And that's the core of our discussion today. We are breaking down a strategy from the English Leap podcast about building a morning routine that bridges the gap between B1 and B2 English levels. It's not about adding stress. It's about changing the tone of your day.
And that word, tone, is crucial. We need to talk about why the morning matters so much psychologically. It's not just about time management. It's about the state of your brain.
Right. In the source material we looked at, they used a beautiful metaphor. The morning is a blank page. Nothing is written on it yet. The world is quiet. Your boss hasn't emailed you yet. The chaos hasn't started.
Precisely. It's a clean sponge. Your mind hasn't touched the dirty water of daily stress yet. If the first thing you absorb is frantic social media scrolling, you are soaking up anxiety. But if the first thing you absorb is English, calm, structured, interesting English, you are priming your brain for a completely different kind of day.
So, let's dive into the mechanics of this. How do we actually do it without feeling like we are back in a classroom? The strategy proposes a small breakfast for your English. 4 bites. Listen, speak, write, review.
Let's start with the first bite, listening. This is the easiest one because it requires zero physical effort. You can literally do this while staring at the ceiling. The idea is to replace the doom scrolling with a podcast.
It sounds simple, but it's a radical shift in behavior. Instead of visual chaos, you choose audio focus. And the key here is the level of English. The strategy suggests listening to B1 level content, clear, slow, distinct, but with a twist. It introduces B2 level concepts and idioms gently.
That's the B1 to B2 bridge. You feel safe because you understand 90% of it, but you are being stretched by that remaining 10%. It's like a gentle yoga stretch rather than a heavy weightlifting session. You hear a new word in context, like intentional or overwhelmed, and because you are relaxed, your brain actually retains it.
Speaking of those words, intentional is a massive concept here. It's more than just a vocabulary word. It's a philosophy for living.
Oh, absolutely. Being intentional means doing something on purpose, not by accident. When you grab your phone to scroll, that is accidental living. When you press play on a podcast while making tea, that is intentional living. You're asserting control over your environment.
And that leads us to the second bite of this English breakfast, speaking. Now, this is where people get nervous. Speaking, alone, in the bathroom.
It sounds funny, but it is the most effective gym for your mouth. Think about it. Muscles have memory. If you only listen to English, your ears are fit, but your tongue is weak. The morning is the perfect time because nobody is watching. Nobody is judging. It's just you and the mirror.
So, what does this look like practically? Are we giving speeches to our toothbrush?
In a way, yes. It's about shadowing. You hear a phrase on the podcast and you repeat it. Or you simply ask yourself, how do I feel today? What is my goal? It takes 2 minutes, but by physically producing the sounds, you are breaking that barrier of fear. You are proving to your brain that you can speak English.
It builds that psychological safety. If you can speak to yourself in the morning, it's a little bit easier to speak to a colleague in the afternoon. Now, let's move to the third step, which I think is the most therapeutic, writing.
This is my favorite part. The idea is to clean your mental desk. We all wake up with a clutter of thoughts, worries about the day, to-do lists, random anxieties. Writing in English serves two purposes here. First, it practices the language. Second, it organizes your mind.
And we aren't talking about writing an essay, we're talking about 3 or 4 sentences. I feel tired, but ready. I need to finish that report today. I hope the sun comes out.
Exactly. It's mindfulness disguised as English practice. When you write it down, you stop the loop of thoughts in your head. You become the observer of your thoughts. And doing this in a second language requires just enough focus that you can't worry about other things. You have to be present to find the right English words.
That connects to another key vocabulary word from the material, mindful. Being mindful isn't just for monks on a mountain, it's just being awake inside, noticing the taste of your coffee, noticing the grammar of your sentence.
It prevents you from living on autopilot. And then we have the final step, the one that makes it all stick, review.
The watering the plants phase.
Right. Learning without review is tragic. It's like buying a beautiful plant and watching it die because you never watered it. You don't need to learn 50 new words a day. You just need to keep the old ones alive. Taking 5 minutes to look at yesterday's notes makes the difference between I heard that word once and I know that word.
This brings us to the concept of consistency versus intensity. I think this is where most learners fail. They try to be intense. They say, I will study for 2 hours, and they burn out in 3 days.
The crash and burn cycle. It's very common. We feel overwhelmed. There is another great B2 word. Overwhelmed is when the mental load is too heavy to carry. When you try to do too much, your brain shuts down.
It's like having too many browser tabs open in your brain, and the whole system freezes.
Perfect analogy. A morning routine fights overwhelm because it is realistic. It fits into the life you already have. You aren't waking up an hour early. You are just swapping 15 minutes of scrolling for 15 minutes of English. It's sustainable.
I want to touch on a story mentioned in our source material, the story of Sarah. She was a customer support worker, exhausted, no time in the evenings. She felt guilty every night because she didn't study.
That guilt is a heavy burden. It drains your energy. Sarah's shift wasn't that she suddenly found more time. She just reallocated the dead time in her morning commute. She sat on the train, put on headphones, and claimed that time for herself.
And the result wasn't magic. It wasn't instant. It was little by little.
Little by little. That is such a powerful phrase. It's the concept of compound interest. 1 drop of water is nothing. 1,000,000 drops is an ocean. Sarah didn't notice the change day by day, but after a few months, she realized she wasn't panicking when customers spoke fast. She had built a wall, brick by brick.
It's the difference between talent and discipline. We often look at fluent speakers and think, oh, they are just gifted, but usually they are just the ones who showed up every morning.
They are the ones who were consistent. They kept the promise to themselves. And that does something to your self-esteem, doesn't it? When you start the day by doing something productive for your own future, you feel energized.
Energized and refreshed. 2 more excellent words. Productive doesn't mean being a robot. It means ending the day knowing you did something of value. And refreshed means your mind feels lighter.
Think about the contrast. If you start the day with social media, you often feel drained or inadequate before you even leave the house. If you start with learning, you feel capable. You feel like, I can handle this. That confidence travels with you into your meetings, your interactions, and your challenges.
So we are essentially saying that English is a tool for character development. It's not just about grammar. It's about becoming the person who is capable of growth.
Absolutely. It's a key that opens doors to jobs, travel, and friendships, yes. But it also unlocks a version of yourself that is more disciplined and more connected to the world.
Let's do a quick word tour recap because we've thrown a lot of great vocabulary out there. We talked about being intentional.
Choosing your actions on purpose, not letting the phone choose for you, power with you.
We talked about being overwhelmed.
The feeling of drowning in too many tasks, the antidote to which is keeping things small and simple.
We discussed being distracted.
the attention jumping around like a bird. The morning routine anchors that attention.
And finally, realistic and consistent.
Making a plan that fits your actual life and doing it again and again. That is the secret formula. It's not sexy, it's not fast, but it is the only thing that works.
So, for our listeners right now, maybe they are under the blanket, maybe they are on the bus. What is the immediate challenge? What should they do right now?
I would say pick one word from this conversation. Maybe it's intentional. Maybe it's fresh start. Take that word and make a sentence with it. Say it out loud. Write it in the comments. Prove to yourself that you learned something.
It's a tiny gym session for your brain, and don't despise the small steps. If you only do 5 minutes today, that is 5 minutes more than zero.
Exactly. Today is a fresh start. The morning is kind that way. It always gives you another chance. You can wipe the whiteboard clean and write something new.
As we wrap up, I want to leave the listeners with a thought about the future. Imagine yourself 1 year from now. If you keep this small, quiet appointment with yourself every morning, just 15 minutes, who is that person looking back at you in the mirror a year from now?
That person is fluent. That person is confident. That person is proud. And the only difference between you and that future version is the accumulation of these small, intentional mornings.
It's a powerful image. The time is going to pass anyway. You might as well fill it with something that builds you up.
Well said. Don't throw away your mornings. They are the foundation of your future self.
Thank you for spending this part of your morning or day with us. We hope you feel a little more energized and ready to tackle your English goals.
Remember, small steps add up. Keep going little by little.
We'll see you in the next episode.
Goodbye, everyone.